welcome back. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Sarah Jane and I am a DC-based YouTuber. I make content about reading and writing, so if that interests you, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe because it really helps support my channel. If you guys are new here, I am currently working on Project Crown. Project Crown is my Greek mythological fiction novel about the Amazons. It follows the love story between Queen Antiope and King Theseus, and I am currently about to begin draft 4. If you guys watched my last video, I essentially got beta reader feedback from Natalie Jane Shields and Emily Thompson here on YouTube, and it was super helpful. When I was thinking about draft 4, I really wondered to myself when they had the book and they were reading it, if that was going to be my line edit or if there was going to be more dev edits that I needed to make. I do indeed have more dev edits that I needed to make. They pointed out some things that definitely need to be fleshed out before I start querying this book. So I've taken a couple days to sort of synthesize all of the feedback, aggregate it into chunks that make sense to me, and create a roadmap and a toolkit to help myself start draft 4. So I thought I'd share with you guys everything that I'm kind of doing and what I have in my toolkit for draft 4 in case you're about to start the revision process. I feel like now that I've gone through a couple rounds with my manuscript, I'm getting more organized and figuring out what works for me and what doesn't work. And this might not work for you, but if you're curious and if you're looking for your things, this is what I'm doing. So I essentially have 4 things in my toolkit. The first thing is an outline. So essentially when I read draft 3 myself, I had like a document open and I did like a quick 1 to 2 sentences about what happened in that chapter. The reason that was important was because it updated what was going on in my book. My book changes, like things like sequence of events and things like that change between the different drafts. And so having an outline, a fresh and clean outline of this is what is in this draft right now was really helpful. So I have that printed out here. And then what I did was I went in and I actually wrote all of the things that I needed to input, which is where my roadmap comes in. So I have this roadmap, and essentially this is a condensed checklist of all of the feedback that I've got and want to implement from my beta reader recommendations. This has a section for plot, it has a section for character development, and it has just like another smaller section for refinement. And I put it in a like checklist format because I think it's really satisfying to be able to check things off. So essentially all of these things need to fit in my draft outline, and the way I made that happen is by color coding it. So like pink is for a subplot that needed to be refined, and purple is for some character development. And I have that sprinkled. This is like a 5-page document. I just have it sprinkled all throughout the document because what I do when I'm writing is I have this propped up beside my computer and I follow along by chapter, and I make sure that everything that I want to get incorporated into the chapter does get incorporated. The third thing in my toolkit is a printed copy and annotated draft. So this is draft 3, the one that I just finished rereading, and this is the draft that my beta reader has just finished reading. And inside of this document, I just have a ton of edits. So, and I have them color coded too. So for example, green is edits that I made when I was reading it. This could be anywhere from like my thoughts when I was reading it. I'm not at line edits yet, but if I saw like an easy edit that I can make in line, I made those edits. Or if maybe something didn't make sense, all of that is in green, which is essentially like my initial thoughts, right, when I'm reading. Then I added pink. Pink is for feedback from my beta readers that I wanted to implement. I also have blue. I'll get to blue in a minute, but just remember that I have blue in there too. So anyways, I have this color coding of my actual manuscript that I have with me and beside me. And the very last thing I have in my revision toolkit is a tracker. So a lot of times I do trackers on like Excel or some sort of internet program. But when it comes to manuscript trackers, I strangely find that having a like physical tracker is a lot more gratifying. So I created this tracker. This is just my notebook that I use for all things for this story. I've used this since draft 1, but I have put together this little tracker. So essentially, as I finish each chapter, I can mark off that I've completed it, and it is just really gratifying. So those are the 4 things I have with me in my toolkit when I am revising. Once again, this has been really helpful to me to stay organized. It helps me know where the story is going, all the edits that I want to make sure I incorporate, a tracker to keep me organized, and then the actual manuscript itself that I'm able to work off of physically in front of me. So this is what I'm doing for this round of revisions. This might change in the future, but I thought I would just share what I'm doing in case anyone is interested. I technically started draft 4 yesterday. I thought about filming it, but honestly, I just wanted to have some time with me and the manuscript and to figure out like what was going to work for me this round of edits before I like pulled the camera out. And I did figure out a good process last night that is working really well for me, and then I'm going to continue into draft 4. So I will share that with you guys a little bit later today. Today is Sunday, and I do have some like errands that I need to run and a couple other things that I just need to do. That's sort of like my Sunday reset. And then later this evening, we're going to get into writing draft 4 and starting draft 4. It's all very, very exciting. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Alrighty, everyone, it is 9 p.m. at night, and I always like to stop writing at 9 p.m. because I find that it allows me to take a second to disconnect from my work as I get ready for bed and decompress for the night. So I'm stopping for the day. I didn't get as much accomplished as I wanted to today. I didn't even get through a full chapter. There was just so many things that I had to actually go back to in the work that I did yesterday in chapter 1 and actually refine because I missed it on my dev edits. So essentially what ended up happening is I took out my outline and I put in there like, okay, don't forget to add this here, add this here, and add this here. And I don't know why. I had it all listed out, all the developmental edits I wanted to add, but I didn't actually add it to the outline. So I just went ahead and added it to the outline. And one of those edits was in chapter 1. So I had to go back and do chapter 1. They're about like 2 paragraphs worth in chapter 1. So it wasn't a ton, but it was pivotal information. And then I went back and did chapter 3. So I only got like 2 pages. Let me look really quick. Yeah, it's only 1, 2, 3. It is 2.5 pages. That is all I got done today because like some of the edits that I have are just so big and ingrained in the story. So yeah, I definitely did not get as much done as I wanted to today, but that is okay. I do have a suspicion that draft 4 might take me longer to edit than draft 3. I have some significant things that I'm adding, but I'm having to definitely balance word count and like what I can take away. Like every single word in this manuscript has to fight for its spot because we only have a certain word count that we're working with. So every word needs to have a purpose. Definitely not as good of a day as I want, but that's okay. You know, there's no rush. But that's it. I just wanted to check in really quick for the night, and I'm going to go ahead and get ready for bed, but I will see you later. Hello friends and happy Tuesday. I am home from work. Today was a very gloomy and rainy Tuesday, as you guys saw. It is raining 2 inches today, and it's actually also supposed to rain the rest of the week, which is a pretty big bummer because I am definitely a sunshine gal. I love to be outside walking, doing things outside. So being inside when it's really rainy is not my thing, but that's okay. We're just going to keep trekking on. I thought I did a little bit of writing last night and I got to chapter 4, which I have 56 chapters, so pretty happy with that. We're obviously at the beginning stages of draft 4. But I thought I would check in really quick and just share with you guys sort of the 4-step process I'm using and what has worked for me when going through revisions in a new draft. So I feel like most of these steps I did when I wrote draft 2 and draft 3. There's only one additional step really that I've done now for draft 4. Going to step 1. I know some authors like to completely rewrite their work. I found that I actually really liked the words that I had written the first time, and so I don't do that. I did the first 2 times and I did not do that for draft 3. So now into draft 4, I still really like my words, so I'm keeping my original words, and what I do is I copy and paste chapter by chapter from one document to the next. So essentially I take chapter 1 from draft 3 and I copy and paste it into draft 4. And that is my draft 4 chapter 1. And then what I do is I go through all of my notes from draft 3 when I was reading through it, and I implement those notes. And I have a ton of notes, right? Like I wrote all in the margins, I circled repetitive words, I crossed out certain words, I crossed out phrases, I changed scenes. Like there is a ton of work that I put into reading draft 3, and all of that then gets implemented. So essentially what I'm doing is like when I copy and paste my original chapter into draft 4, that gives me my foundation and I'm building on the foundation. After I go through all of those edits that I made into the next new draft, I then move into reading. And so originally I was rereading the chapter itself. Now, I just want to clarify, when I wrote draft 1 and draft 2, I did not reread my work after I finished each chapter because the goal was to actually finish writing the book, and I have found that going back and rereading my work really inhibited me from doing that. So now that I have kind of a story that I'm pretty happy with and I'm now making more refined edits, I'm not trying to do that anymore. So what I am doing for the first time with draft 4 is as I finish a chapter, I'm going back and rereading it. But, and this is what's different than what I've done in my previous drafts, I'm actually using a text-to-speech to help me listen to my story. I've never done that before. I love audiobooks, so I'm used to listening to stories, and I'm a big believer that consuming your story in a different medium is very helpful to look at it in a fresh perspective. So what I mean by that is when I wrote draft 1, I wrote it on my computer and then I had it printed, and seeing it printed versus on my computer really changed the way I looked at the story. And now I've seen it printed. Now I'm listening to it, and that has been really helpful in honestly really tightening up my prose, because I'm seeing words that I repeated, or maybe words that don't make sense in the context of what it's being used. So what isn't probably helpful in this video is that I have not found the perfect text-to-speech application. I've been bopping around to different free options. So like Elevation Lab, Speechify, Natural Reads, I think, is another one. They all have like a free option, but they all have limitations on how many characters they'll read for free. And so I'm just trying to bop around. So let me know in the comments below if you have a recommendation for a free text-to-speech option, because I would like to find one that I'm happy with and that I commit to, even if it's not free. If I do have to pay a small fee, I don't mind, but I want to have the most character count as possible with the best price, if that makes sense. So anyways, I have found that this has been so helpful to listen to out loud. And then step 4 is doing kind of the last round of chapter edits. And what I mean by that is when I'm listening to the audio, I'm also following along on my physical manuscript, and I am making edits again in like a different color of things that I need to take out of the manuscript or add to as I'm listening to it. And then I will go through one more final time in that chapter and make those final edits. So really, when I'm going through each chapter now, I'm not going through it just once, but I'm also going through it twice. So it's a lot more refined process than what I've done previously, and it is different because I'm listening to it now, but I really, really like it. So if you guys are in the process of refining your draft and you're looking for different, maybe creative ways to go about it, I highly recommend maybe considering some of the things that I just mentioned. So anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to eat dinner and then probably read for a little bit. I'm currently reading 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. So I talked about this in my last video about how I wanted to read more Greek mythological books because that is my genre of book that I'm currently writing, and it is helpful to know your genre. And I also kind of want to pitch this literary agent because the narrative prose is similar to my narrative prose, and there's also common themes. I am currently reading this one. I'm halfway through it. I had a hard time the first couple of chapters getting into this book because there is a very large cast of characters. I want to say it's like 12, I think, if I remember correctly, like a ton, and it's all like, it's everywhere. But once you like get your bearing on who is who, I've been flying through it lately. So I'm going to read that for a little bit, and then I'm going to get to writing tonight.
Double doors to the council hall for Antiope to walk through. Her numerous braids fell across her shoulders with various beads and a feather woven throughout, indicative of talismans from previous battles. Antiope approached her seat, which was positioned beside her sister, Penthesilea, her right hand and second in command. As she sat, so did they.
Alrighty guys, we are done for the evening. So I revised 2 chapters this evening, which is sort of my rhythm I've noticed over the last 3 days since I've started draft 4 is about 2 chapters a night. So I got to the inciting incident, which is essentially when King Theseus arrives to the shores of the Mascyra, and he has a bit of a conversation with Queen Antiope about why he's here and what he's trying to get out of the Amazons. So I actually ended up changing this scene a lot more than I thought I was going to. And the things I definitely added to my word count, which is not what I'm trying to do at all. I'm trying to take away from my word count because I have too many words. But I just felt like the scene needed a little bit more dialogue, just a tiny smidge more, because I wanted him to give a more compelling argument than what I currently felt like was on the page. So we will see. I have a feeling that this is going to be a monstrous word count by the end of draft 4, but I'm really, really hoping it's not. So anyways, that's it for the evening. I'm going to get ready for bed, decompress. I will be working from home tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. If you guys have been following on this channel, I had to go back to work full time, and now like we're allowed to work from home here and there. So that's kind of nice. Tomorrow I will also be ice skating. If you guys have been on this channel for a minute, you know that I do figure skating with my coach, and I have a lesson tomorrow. I actually am wondering if tomorrow is going to be our last lesson because she's about to move to Canada. So we'll see. But I probably won't write tomorrow because essentially by the time I'm done working and I go to my ice skating lessons and then I'm home, there really just isn't a lot of time left in the day. So if I don't write tomorrow, I'm just going to get back to it on Thursday. So I'll see you then. everyone. So I did not think I was going to get to write tonight because I had ice skating, but I think because I worked from home today, I didn't feel like I was on the go all day. Like normally I work and then I go straight to ice skating, then I come home and I eat dinner and I'm just kind of like vegging out the rest of the night, just decompressing. But I think because I worked from home, I did not feel that way at all today. And so after dinner, I was like, I do feel good to write. So I wrote for an hour, which is my usual amount of writing time during the work week. And it is now currently 9. So hard cut off. I don't write after 9 because then I don't have enough time to decompress before time to go to bed. So I wrote 2 chapters tonight, which means I have finished 8 chapters out of 57, which is 14% of the book. And I'm really excited because, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I have like a whole outline I'm going off of, and I have finished the entire first page of my outline, which is really exciting. That like there's something about just seeing yourself make progress that just really motivates you. So I feel really good. And then I also had a moment of inspiration while I was driving to my ice skating lessons about how to change up this one very tiny part at the beginning. And I added that, and I am really, really happy with where it is. I think it just really brings everything kind of together at the beginning of the book. I feel like I'm dealing a lot with the word economy. And what I mean by that is because I am on such a tight budget with words, like I can't really add too many more words to my manuscript. I need to be taking words away, but I'm still adding stuff to the plot. So I really have to make every word fight for its purpose on the page, which then when you think about the word economy, it's like, does this word is like, can I make this sentence shorter and use less words but mean the same thing? And that is a lot of what I kind of did tonight was trying to just find a way to make everything still sound good, still make sense, but use less words. And then I actually ended up having to re-listen to one of my chapters 3 times which normally, like after I edit a chapter, I listen to it and then I make my edits and I'm done. My last chapter, I had to re-listen to it 3 times because it just needed to be tightened. Things just needed to sound better and flow better, but that's okay, right? Like that's the whole purpose of the editing process. And this is also like very different for me because when I wrote my first couple drafts, I didn't reread the chapters. I like kept going after I was done with them. But now that I'm really editing down my book, I am reviewing every single chapter as I go. And the reason why I did it that way at the very beginning was because I was just trying to get the story down and I didn't want to get bogged down with all like the little things. But now I'm on the reverse side where like I really need to look at those little things. And it feels nice. It feels like I'm making progress and I feel good about it. And I also feel really good because today I kind of like looked at my social media and realized that I haven't really talked a lot about my story on my Instagram. And I don't know why. So I decided to make a post about it. And something about making that post just made me feel really excited about my book all over again. I think I don't do a lot of mood boarding. I think a ton of people do mood boarding. And I think it's great. And it's an amazing way to get inspired for your book. And I did it a little bit, but I'm nowhere near as artsy as other people. And I wish I was, but I'm not. And I aspire to be as artsy as some other folks. But I did create one small thing for my Instagram today. And it made me so excited. And I'm going to show you. If you look at that, that is a little like almost kind of cover graphic. I don't know how well you guys can see it. And if you can't see it very well, I'm just going to pop it on the screen. But I realized that I make content about me writing, but not necessarily about what I'm writing. And so I decided to make this little mood board thing, just kind of introducing the project onto my social media. And I just love the way it turned out. It makes me really happy. And it makes me want to do more of those, maybe doing like little mood boards for my characters. Like to me, in my head, they're so alive. So I think, I could get them on like a little photo. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just blabbering now, but I'm excited. It made me excited, and now I want to do more of them is the point of what I'm saying. So I'm going to end this vlog here because I feel like I'm in a good stopping place for the video. I finished my first page of my outline. I have finished 8 chapters, and I feel good about my revision process and everything that I have going on. So I'm going to end it here. I am very excited though, and I wanted to go ahead and just share that My next video should be really exciting. I am going up to New York for work next week, and I'll be there for almost a week. And for those of you who don't know, I used to live in New York City back in 2019 on the Upper East Side, and I loved it. And it was such a fun time, but I was not in my writing era back when I lived there. And so now I'm really excited to be returning in my writing era and find really cool places to write when I'm like not working, because I am going up there for work. So when I'm not working, so top of my list is the New York Public Library, because I did not go there when I did live there, and that was a regret. But if you have any recommendations of really cool places to write in New York City, please let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have been here this entire video, please leave me a brown heart emoji in the comments. I feel like this is a long video. It might not be, but thank you if you're still here. And yeah, so I just wanted to go ahead and tease that out, because I am just so excited to be working. There's something about writing in New York City. The energy in New York City is just so fun, and I'm really excited to be writing there. So I'm creating like a list of places that I want to go write while I'm there, and I'm going to film it so that you guys can come along with me. And that just makes draft 4 even feel more special, because I used to live there and now I'm coming back and like writing there. So anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because it really does help support my channel. And I will talk to you guys in another one. Bye.